I start out with? During my teen years, a lot of people don't remember, but back when I was growing up, you only had to be 18 to drink beer in Kansas. So after you turned 18, you came over to Kansas to party. So I could say I had a few beers during those years. Anyway, also, Kansas City, Missouri had the Slits Brewery. We had a Slits Brewery at that time. And they also had a party room where you could go and hold parties. And we went to a party there one evening. And we were there with a bunch of people from the railroad. And we were sitting at the table. And Ed made a comment to one of the fellas there that my wife can out-chug you. And he goes, yeah, right. Yeah, right. There's no girl going to beat me chugging. So Ed said, well, put your money where your mouth is. So they threw down $1. $1's a lot of money back then. You got to remember that. So they threw down $1, and people made bets. And then they poured us a beer in a beer glass there, kind of the V-shaped glass. And I had mine, he had his, and somebody said go, and I went, and the guy had beer drooling down his face. He hadn't even drank half of it. And he couldn't believe it. Dana is my oldest child. Dana was my biggest helper, my best worker. I could always depend on her to get things done.
Taking.
Dana was very creative.
Taking.
She also could. Dana had a talent for sewing, and she loved to sew her own clothes. And one time, she decided she'd make jeans for a 4-H project. So she got this pattern, and she made these jeans, and I'm looking at these jeans going, oh my goodness, these things are not that good. But we took them up to the fair to be judged, because, you know, you get judged according to ribbons, how well your project is. And lo and behold, the judge gave her a purple, and I just couldn't believe it that she got a purple on these jeans, because I didn't think they were that good. But like I said, Dana is very talented. When she sets her mind to do something, she can do it. The only thing I can say about Terry, it took her 9 years to get out of college, and she has 201 hours of credits, which is more than what you have to have when you have a master's, but she only graduated with a BA. Let me tell you one about John Paul. He's our oldest boy. John Paul was a senior in high school. And this is during the first war in the Gulf area with Iraq. And the Americans would shoot Scud's missiles into Iraq. Anyway, John, my son, was not the neatest kid in the world, to say the least. But he had his own room, because he had told me earlier that if he had his own room, it'd be spotless. It'd be the neatest room in the house. So we gave him his own room for a little while. And we went into his room one day, and it was a mess, to say the least. There were clothes everywhere. I think every bit of clothes he owned was on the floor someplace. So we decided we would be really cute, and my husband wrote on a piece of paper and taped it to the door, Scud's missile
You drew a picture of it.
attacked. And he drew a picture of a Scud's missile on it and stuck it to the door, so when John come home, he could see it. So John comes home, he looks at the paper, opens his door, shuts his door, and comes out to the living room and goes, you spell Scud's wrong. That was his only comment. And then there comes Jill. Jill's special. God gave me Jill because she's special. Jill has epilepsy. And Jill likes to watch movies. She could probably tell you anything about a movie, especially if they star Johnny Depp. That's her favorite movie star right now is Johnny Depp. One time it was Kevin Costner, but now it's Johnny Depp. Jill was, it was a struggle for her to get through school, having epilepsy. And, one of the things I could say about Jill, she went to school every day. Jill was never sick. If she was sick, there was something wrong. Jill showed up to school every day despite the stories I've heard since she's been out of school about how bad the kids treated her. And, you know, through no fault of her own, she had epilepsy. And that's something that she's had to live with all these years. Because one of the kids, when they were little, had gotten up on our end table and said, "Look, I can do a trick." And they jumped off the end table and did a belly flop onto the floor. And we all held our breath because we figured she was a screamer, that she'd jump up, start screaming and crying because she broke her face. But she got up and goes, "Ta-da-da!" and started laughing, and we all laughed with her, but it was a kind of a scary moment there.
That was Amy.
That was Amy.
None of the kids have really been normal.
Well, I can't tell you the one about Michael and Sean uptown. That'd kind of be risque there.
Tell them about the snake in the basement.
No, that one's fine. Let it go itself.
Well, Michael and Sean are my twin boys, and we went uptown, and they had just been potty trained. Okay. So I went into the store, and they had told me earlier that they had to go to the bathroom, and I said, "Okay, as soon as I finish my shopping in the store, we'll go home. You can hold it." So I come out of the store, and we had a van, and it had windows in the back that kind of open up, and there was these two little streams coming out of the window, you know. I won't go into any further details, but needless to say, I didn't have to rush home so they could go to the bathroom. The kids learned that they didn't cross Mark, because Mark was kind of like the mafia. He may not get you that day, but come down the road, you were going to pay. His brother John had teased him and made Mark mad. So Mark just waited, and one day John come home. He'd been working out in the field and sat down in a chair and fell asleep. Mark went over there real quietly and real sneakily and tied his shoestrings together. And so, you know, after a while, John woke up and he tried to stand up and fell and said, "Oh, I knew he'd done that all along." But we knew he didn't, and Mark had got his revenge. Oh, yeah. Now, you know, I've been talking about Derek. Derek, like I said, is very inventive. We were at a music concert up in Tonganoxie hearing these singers sing. That's what they do. And Derek comes over to me real quietly, goes, "Mom, I got a dime stuck up my nose." I go, "What?" "I got a dime stuck up my nose." And I go, "What?" "I got a dime stuck up my nose." "Go tell your dad." So he goes over and tells my husband, "Dad, I got a dime stuck up my nose." And he goes, "What?" "Dad, I got a dime stuck up your nose." "How'd you do that?" "Well, I was sticking it up my nose and I was pulling it out and sticking it up, pulling it out, and this one time I stuck it up and it didn't come back." So we said, "Okay, just wait till the concert's over." So we come home and we get a flashlight and look up his nose, and we kept going, "Are you sure you stuck a dime up your nose?" Yeah. Mary was saying, "Yeah, he did. I saw him." So anyway, we thought, well, we'll have to go to the emergency room. So we go to the emergency room and we tell them the same story. And they go, "Well, we'll take an x-ray of it." And sure enough, they brought out this x-ray. And right there, up in his nose, was this beautiful dime stuck up there.
Up here.
So they,
Up here, Con. It was up here.
it was, well, yeah, it was up
Actually,
here
up
in
in
the
his-
sinuses. It had really went up far into his head. It's probably why he has brain damage. Anyway,
We
So
were
they-
there until 2 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, we were there.
And that's the way it is when you have kids. You know, they rule your life.
Anyway,
And
they,
when we finally got home, they had dilated his nose, tried to get the dime down, couldn't get it down, said bring him back the next day. The next day when they brought Derek back, they actually could see the dime up his nose and they took it out. So I suggested, maybe Derek, we gave him his dime back and said, you should try a quarter next time. I mean, how many people have been able to do that with a quarter? But it's exciting.
Yeah. And I was surprised, the doctor said that's very common, that kids do that all the time. That was my first experience with it.
So, be prepared.
Let's see, what else has Derek done? And then there's the time Mary and her nephew, Gabe, were outside playing. And they got a hold of a blowtorch thing.
Gabe was playing with a blowtorch. I was trying to clean
Mary was completely innocent, not doing anything
I was
anyway.
cleaning out the root cellar because me and Kelsey were making a clubhouse.
Mary was completely innocent, not doing anything. She was busy cleaning out the root cellar, not watching her little nephew, who's older than her,
Yeah, he's not alone.
playing with the blowtorch. So Gabe was playing with this blowtorch,
And
and,
then I called him over to get rid of a dead squirrel.
and Mary found a dead squirrel in the root cellar.
No, it was outside the root cellar.
Outside the roots, Mary found a dead squirrel outside the root cellar and told, "Hey, Gabe, come over and get this squirrel." So Gabe drags it over by this tree.
No, it was by the tree already. And he was blowtorching it, and then all these bugs ran out, and he started chasing the bugs with the blowtorch and went up the tree.
Anyway,
Do we have?
Mary, why don't you go sit down someplace? It hasn't always been easy for us, raising 11 children. Money's been tight. There are times when we had financial difficulties. We finally got rid of all of our credit cards. That was a hard thing to do, especially in this day and age when we have a lot of people living on credit. Even our government is living on credit. And there comes a time in your life when you have to make some decisions to do away with those burdens, because credit cards are a burden. And it took me a long time to learn that. It took us probably 30 years or at least 30 years for me to realize that. My husband realized it after about 5 years, that credit cards are bad news. So we don't have any credit cards. We do have a debit card, and we try to be pretty responsible with that. Sometimes we aren't. We're just like everybody else. We make mistakes, and I've made my share of mistakes. And I feel really bad that I did this to my family. Sometimes during the summer, we would put a mattress out on this hay wagon. This is what this is, a hay wagon, and sleep outside under the stars. And except for the mosquitoes, it wasn't bad. I mean, you take a few little bug bites, you make it through the night, and it's kind of restful. You sleep really well outside. I'm surprised. I never did sleep on the ground because I have this phobia, and these things, they crawl on the ground. So we always slept on the hay wagon. This is our farm. It goes from down to the road and up to the top of the hill. It's home.
I'm a jitterbug boy by the shoe shine, resting on my laurels and my heart is too. Life a rally on a swing shift, gears follow my drift. Was upon a time I was in showbiz too.